Hey y'all, it's Amanda. Welcome back to my channel, and today we're going to talk about the books I read in January. So this month I read 12 books, so much to talk about here, so let's go ahead and just dive right in. Had a really great reading month, lots of audiobooks got in, so we're gonna go ahead and dive right in. First book I read this month was Clanlands in New Zealand by Sam Heughan and Greg McTavish. This is a Clanlands, I guess, continuation in their nonfiction series that they've done. This is probably the third one that they've done. I've read the other two. Listen to the audiobook for this. This one I ended up giving 3 stars. Hubs and I, we have loved watching them in Men in Kilts. It's a really funny show on Stars where they do lots of traveling and stuff, and you will definitely belly laugh throughout the series. There's a couple episodes where we're like, I don't know much about this, but for the most part, we have enjoyed it. And, you know, we laugh at their crazy adventures, right? But in this one, we see them go to New Zealand, whereas before they're usually in Scotland. And these are 2 of our dream vacation spots, honestly. I love seeing their travels, all that good stuff. With that being said, I have read the other 2 books. This is a nonfiction read in their series of Clanlands, travels, whatever you want to call it. They talk a lot about the history and the culture of the places that they visit, right? With this one, which I think if you read these, the audiobooks are the best way to go. But this one for the New Zealand journey was just not my favorite. Personally, while it does a good job of celebrating New Zealand, most of this is just Sam and Graham kind of fussing back and forth, and I just found it very tiring. I would have liked more travel-related content in this, personally, so instead of reading this one, you might just stick to the show, Men in Kilts. It felt like they had a lot more cussing in this, a lot of F-words, and I was like, something's done fell off my shelf. Okay, anyway, I feel like they were I don't know, they just had a lot more language in this one as well. So that I remembered, I guess. I can't remember if they had a lot in the first ones, but I noticed it a lot more in this. And it was just them fussing back and forth, so I didn't really care about that. So yeah, 3 out of 5 stars. It was all right. Nothing to write home to mama about, okay? Next book I read was a Christmas book that I finished in early January, and that's Christmas Baggage by Deborah Hathaway. This is book 1 in the Christmas Escape series. I own all of these on my Kindle, so I was really excited to at least get one of these done this year, so hopefully I can finish more next Christmas, or this Christmas. But this was just a really fun, sweet, clean, cute Christmas read. This one had a very charming, wholesome, heartwarming Christmas story, and it just was very joyous for me. So we have more of like this grumpy sunshine / enemies to lovers trope, but it was really more like that banter back and forth. So it wasn't like a true enemies to lovers for me, which I really enjoyed. And so we have Claire and Liam in this, and they are hilarious back and forth together. Claire ends up on this fun trip in London, or going to London with her friend Melody, right? And so her parents have basically left her alone for Christmas this season, and in comes Liam, which is Melody's cousin, who meets Claire in a very funny, I don't know, circumstance, we'll say. And they just start seeing each other several times, and they end up touring London together, and the rest is history, okay? So seeing our characters deal with some real life challenges, and they got to know each other in a very fun way and do all these fun London activities. It was it also has a lot of nerdy references. You had some Star Wars, Harry Potter, Poldark, Pride and Prejudice. All those were very fun to read. So if you're a bookish nerd, this is definitely gonna be right up your alley. I didn't really love how Melody was portrayed with her relationships in this book so much, but she was a good friend to Claire either way. So I also loved how the couple in this communicated very well. So yeah, I give this 4 stars, and it was a good Christmas read. Next on the list is a Colleen Coble book, Fragile Designs. This is her newest release. I listened to the audiobook of this. I give this 4.5 stars. It's a solid romantic suspense. I was invested again. Colleen, she does this like on the edge of your seat type stuff, and I was here from this from the very beginning. I was very invested. In this, we follow this girl Carly. Her police officer husband has been murdered. Her husband didn't know that she was pregnant before his death, so Carly's left to raise this baby all by herself. She's staying with her grandmother in this, and they plan to turn the family's home into like a bed and breakfast with all of their sisters. And there's a lot of drama and animosity with the sisters that exist because of money and stuff, so some of that was kind of whatever. They really just think the worst of her because of true misunderstandings that Carly just didn't verbalize to them. So I didn't really love that part 100%. Carly really is this character who wants to take care of others and help everybody the best she can, but everybody thinks the worst of her and all this mess because she didn't explain the circumstance in full. She kind of just like lets stuff lay there. And I'm like, girl, you should say it, but okay. So I didn't love that. But anyway, circumstances arise where she finds a letter in the attic that her husband had where you could tell that he was onto something about her grandmother and about how she was adopted many years ago, and all the story starts to unfold from here. Carly ends up reaching out to her grandmother's neighbor and the brother of her ex-boyfriend, okay, from high school, Lucas. And so he is like this local homicide detective, and they end up finding this Fabergé egg, honey, and it's worth like millions of dollars, okay? And so they're on this journey to protect this egg, keep it away from the Russian mafia, and the rest is history, okay? That's all you need to know. Like, that's it. There's this mystery egg. She adopted, who's the mystery sibling, all this stuff going on. I needed to know. I needed to know. This egg was like, what? I was like, what is this? And I didn't know anything about Fabergé eggs, so it was kind of interesting to learn about that. The Russian mafia, say less. You know that there was a lot of tea in this. There was some like Colleen tea thrown in here, like probably 50% in. We were like, I was like, wait a minute. What? I really like the audiobook narration of this because it had like this southern accent for the grandmother that was just perfection. So yeah, I feel like it really keeps you engaged. If I physically read this, I don't know how much I'd have been interested, but the audiobook, let me just say, top tier. I think if you like a good suspense, you're going to enjoy this. I wanted a little bit more romance, of course, but that's always the case with me. So yeah, I gave this 4.5 stars, and I'm going to be picking up a lot more of Colleen's books in the future because she has just been bringing it lately, okay? The next book I read was The Seamstress of Acadie by Laura France, and if you know me, you know that I absolutely love Laura France. I love the 2 books I've read by her so far, The Rose and the Thistle and A Bound Heart. Those were in Scotland, and I just always love her writing and her settings and all that good stuff. She brings the settings to life. That is like her key thing. She can bring a setting to life. I ended up giving this one, though, 3.5 stars. I rented up to 4 on Goodreads. I enjoyed this book. It's just, setting is in Acadie, which is actually Nova Scotia, Canada today, and there's a lot of French dialogue and language that I struggled to understand. Like there's a whole glossary in the front, and I had to keep referring to that, so that was kind of hard for me personally. Whereas with the Scottish book, I could see that if, like, for like, let's say The Rose and the Thistle, if you're not someone who knows a lot of the Scottish dialect from, let's say, shows or movies or other books you've read, it could be difficult, and that's how I felt with this. But I think if you like a good slow burn romance, have an interest in anything French, and are very interested in diving into that Acadian history, you're going to enjoy this because this was very satisfying in that regard, I should say. It was set in the 1700s, and there was a lot of tensions that were high between the French and the British on Canada's Acadian shore, which is, again, modern-day Nova Scotia. And this is about seamstress Sylvie Gallant and her family. They're getting caught up in this unrest as they prepare for Christmas, and William Blackburn comes in, and he's this British Army Ranger, but he's also like a Scottish guy, so I liked it for that, let alone because you know, Scottish guy, we love to say a good Scottish hero. But he comes in, and they're not really too sure about his allegiance, but he ends up proving himself, of course, and that he can be trusted, and he becomes their ally, and the story unfolds from there. We see these hardships that they're faced. We see how the Acadians were forced to leave their homes. They were displaced, and they had to just have these new lives for their families. And so Laura France really brought that to life. I really appreciated that, just as she usually does in her stories. And so I didn't know anything about the Acadian people before I started this book, so it was very interesting to learn about that and all that they went through in this book. So I want a little bit more of the romance, honestly, together, because I felt like they weren't together a lot in this book, but again, it was more of a slow burn, and the faith thread in this made up for a lot of the things that I had wished I'd seen, I guess we'll say. It was very naturally added. And yeah, I'm glad that I picked this one up, and hopefully you will enjoy this one as well. On the list is one that I talked about in a recent vlog for my Read in the New Year reading vlog, and that is Ready to Protect by Valerie Hanson. I gave this 3.5 stars. This is a romantic suspense. It's in the love-inspired series. Fun, quick read with a handsome cowboy, canine cop, we'll say. And he sets out to protect this pregnant woman who witnesses a congresswoman's murder. Sets out to protect her. He's got this dog. She doesn't really know about the dog at first, but she starts to warm up to him. Loved seeing the dog. That's one of my favorite parts of this book. And I like the audiobook. It was a very quick listen. I don't really read a lot of the love-inspired books, but this makes me want to try to pick more of those up. A lot of y'all say that a lot of these are great. And there's a canine series some had mentioned as well, so I need to look into that. Cute, short, sweet suspense little bit of faith here, a good conclusion in the end, kind of everything you want in those feel-good stories. You know, there's very fast-paced storyline. The romance is a little instant love, but it's fine. That's kind of why it was 3.5 stars for me. But, you know, I enjoyed my time with it. You know, I would definitely read more from this author. And, you know, I wanted more of our characters actually having time to get to know each other in this. But there was so much of that suspense back and forth that you saw versus them, you know, having time together. So that was kind of why it was 3.5. But either way, I want more dog stories in my life. This was definitely a good one to pick up. So yeah, if you're looking for a good love-inspired suspense, this is one I'd recommend. Speaking of dog stories, we have book number 5 in the Gone to the Dog series. This is Every Dog Has His Day by Janice Thompson. This is definitely one of my favorite ones in the series. I give this 4.5 stars. We follow Isabel in this, and she has this dachshund that she finds that's actually this Texans quarterback, Corey. It's his dog. And so there's a reward announced for this dog, and she didn't realize it was his. And so he kind of comes in. Everybody in Houston's looking around for this dog, and he comes in to pick up the dog. And she's like, I don't know, wait a minute, I can't just give this dog to you, you know. And so a lot of drama goes on from that, her saying that, you know. She's like, you need to prove this is your dog, that kind of stuff, because they've had issues before. And so the press kind of gets wind of all this because he is this famous quarterback. And so, you know, there's all these people like that are dogging her for what she's done. But throughout all of those activities, the dog actually does end up going missing. And so Corey and Isabel are trying to figure out where's the dog. And so there's a little bit of a romance that blooms as well. This is a cozy mystery trying to find the dog and all that stuff. I really like this one mostly because I didn't even care about the mystery of like, where's his dog? I knew they was going to find it, right? But it's like, the family, the friends, all the good things in this, that's what makes this story so good. You know, it's just one of those things, it's like, kind of like a Mayberry town, you know, like it's lots of love and it feels good and people are taking care of each other. It's a really small town. And so you get to learn a lot about veterinarian life as well in these books, and they're just a good time. And this one had football, country music, you know, the characters we saw from book 1. It's bittersweet that this one comes to an end because it is the end of the characters from this book, but I think book 6 is a different set of characters. But overall, I have enjoyed my time with this, and I hope that you all pick this series up because it's just a good time when you want something to read that's light, fluffy, all that type of stuff. All right, now we have got a Nancy Mail that I read also for the Read the New Year Readathon. I talked about this in my reading vlog for that, but this was I gave this one 4 stars. This is the conclusion to the Quantico Files series by Nancy. And with the end of this, I fully enjoyed my time in this series. I buddy read this with my friend Teresa, and we had the best time chatting through all the crazy twists and turns that Mel likes to give, okay? And you become so attached to her characters. And the faith content is great, and there's lots of prayers and salvation moments. And series throughout, we have been following Alex and Logan, FBI profilers for the BAU, which is the Behavior Analyst Unit. And they are trying to profile this person who has abducted many different women. So one woman that we get to see her point of view of throughout this book is Tracy. She's imprisoned and she's trying to figure out ways out left and right. Alex ends up finding herself right in the thick of things with these missing women and working to be one step ahead of the man who's done this. And throughout this story, you're trying to figure out, why did this man abduct all these women? All he's doing is giving them gourmet meals, nice clothes, books to read. It's like he's searching for a specific woman. The story kicks off here as Alex, again, like I said, she's sitting out to try to figure this out, while Logan, his health is kind of on the fritz here. We don't know what's going on there. Is he going to be okay? And, you know, it's just his health pretty much remains in the Lord's hands throughout this book. And so the one thing I love most about this book, honestly, is the faith content. Like I said, this one had the most for me. I loved how powerful it was, especially from Logan's point of view. My only complaint is, like, I felt like the ending was too rushed, honestly. We didn't see a lot of Logan and Alex together in this story as much as I would have liked, and which is fine, but the ending is like, I wish we would have had more time together after all the suspense ended, because you really only had like 10 minutes left in the audiobook when everything was done. And so, yeah, additionally, we never got to see kind of what happened with the women. What? I was like, wait a minute, what happened to Tracy? What's going on? Did they just say this man got caught and everybody got gone? Okay, cool. Like, I was like waiting on that. So since we had Tracy's point of view, I would have loved to see maybe something with her parents or something, some sort of resolution. Teresa and I were the same with a lot of this stuff. So it didn't feel like there was a lot of urgency in trying to figure out where Alex was. So I was like, wait a minute. Do y'all, I mean, I know people are looking for her, but like, come on. So yeah, yeah, overall though, this series has been fun. This was, like I said, not my favorite of the series, but I still give it 4 stars. It was a fun time. Nancy Mel is just top tier auto by author. You'll hear me talk more about her in a minute. 4 stars, and I'm glad I finished the series, and this is one of the series I wanted to finish this year. Next book I read was Crime and Poetry by Amanda Flower. This is book 1 in a Magical Bookshop mystery series. I give this 4.5 stars. This is a very fun, cute, cozy mystery series. Amanda Flower always has the best characters in her cozy mysteries. I've read one other book by her and loved it, and this one just did not disappoint. Throw in a cute tuxedo cat, you got me sold. Like, that's it. That's all we need to know, because there's a cute little cat here. We love to see it. So I enjoyed my time with this. I'm looking forward to more books in the series. I was so glad to be back in my cozy mystery bag, because I feel like I haven't read any cozy mysteries in a little bit. And this one was all about Violet, who is going home after many years of being away. And her grandmother says she's sick. She gets there and her grandma's like, never mind, just kidding, because she's in perfect health. She just wanted to get her granddaughter back home to try to help her work in the magical bookshop, charming books. And so Violet has every intention of getting out of there. Okay, she's like, I'm getting out of here. We're not doing this anymore. I don't want to do this. But right before she leaves, a man ends up dead. And so her grandma ends up being the prime suspect. And Violet has to work to clear her grandmother's name, figure out why she was the #1 person in his will. Okay, that's how this story kicks off. I love the audiobook. Highly recommend that if you want to pick this one up. Those curious about the magic element in this, because I know it says a magical bookshop, very light. It did not bother me. It's not over the top. It's more like the books kind of randomly open up on the pages or whatever, and like in a way of, and randomly just try to like give hints to different things that's going on in the situation. Nothing that was over the top. It's just very whimsical in that regard. Content in general is clean and fun and light. Just a really cute, cozy mystery that I highly recommend. Next on the list is the first 5-star read of 2024, and that is Veiled in Smoke by Jocelyn Green. Let me just say, I was surprised that this was my top book of the month. A wonderful Christian historical fiction that's going to completely immerse you from the first page. Like, you were in the thick of things legit from the very beginning. And this is all surrounding the 1871 Great Chicago Fire and its aftermath. And we end up following 2 different sisters in this, Meg and Sylvie, and their father, Stephen. Meg and Sylvie, they manage their family bookstore, and Stephen is a Civil War veteran that is going through some very extreme war PTSD, and certain events surrounding the fire land their father in an insane asylum. And Sylvie, they start to work together along with a reporter named Nate to exonerate their father in a murder that they don't think that he committed, and everything goes on from there. Okay, so I personally really like this. I felt like the way that she handled the asylum portion was done very well. It was not explicit in any way. It was not too detailed. Personally, I mean, we saw what he went through, but I know some of you are a bit leery about asylum books. This one, I felt like she did a really good job of making it clear that you knew kind of what was going on, but it wasn't like detailed or stressful, if that makes sense. For me personally, you know, I wanted him to get out of there, of course, but it wasn't over the top, if that makes sense as far as content. I personally related to both of the sisters in this and how they handled some of the circumstances of what they were going through, just for personal reasons I'm not going to get into, but I really loved both of their characters and how the story unfolded. And we get to see really what Stephen was going through in this asylum and the sisters in this journey to try to get him out. I feel like Jocelyn Green is a new favorite author. I definitely want to read the rest of the books in the series. This is one of the series I wanted to start this year, and I said I don't know if I want to like try to finish the whole series this year, but I am, you know, a little bit more anticipated to read book 2 after reading this one, because I think it follows another one of the sisters' journeys in book 2. And you know, this really helped me learn a lot about the Great Chicago Fire that I didn't really know much about, if anything. And the faith element in this was truly beautiful. It shows us that God can bring beauty in our ashes in these hard times, and he will always be there with us throughout these different times of trouble in our life, and we just need to trust him throughout that process. And I highly recommend this book for anyone who is looking for a good historical fiction story with a little bit of a murder mystery and some good family elements as well. So I highly recommend reading this because you will not regret it. Next on the list was a short story that I randomly added because it was only like an hour audiobook on Kindle Unlimited, and this is Royal Valentine by Sarai Wilson. I give this 3 stars. You know, this is like a whole short story anthology that I actually might read some of the others, because I've heard that there's even like an Abby Jimenez in this, and I've heard that it's not even like spicy at all. Like, these books have low spice, supposedly. So I may pick up a couple others if I have like a random, you know, time. Who knows time? Where is it? But I might pick up another one at some point. I don't know. We'll see. Just so I could kind of like, I'm interested enough since I've seen some other people reading them. And I'm like, oh, okay. And I've kind of researched the reviews and people said, oh, clean. I'm like, okay, we'll see. I picked this one up because I've read one of her other books at Christmas time. And it was like full insta cheese, a 3-star. You know what I'm saying? Like, it was not best book of all time or anything, but it was just a good time, lots of fun and fluff. And this one has another Scottish male lead, which you know, let's go. And so I enjoyed this short story. It was a lot of fun. Her books for me are just like fluffy, insta love, cheese, they're a good time, and at least the 2 I've read so far now. And I think anytime she has a Scottish romance, I'm gonna pick it up, you know, as long as it's clean. I had a girl named Princess Ilaria, and she trades places with her assistant to hide from the paparazzi on her trip in Rome. And as things would have it, she ends up meeting this handsome Scottish man, hey, and he's a photographer, and the rest is history, and he becomes her tour guide. It's a whole thing, and that's it. So this is a clean romance. Like I said, had some innuendos and stuff, but it wasn't nothing bad. Not too much for me personally. And you know, there was some content in this I wasn't fully crazy about. Like, I don't really know how to explain it, but there's just a couple things in there I was like, roll my eyes at. But other than that, it was clean and enjoyable. So yeah, 3 out of 5 stars. On my list is the Blackout. I want to keep saying that. Every time I pick this up, I almost say Blackout Book Club. Why? That's another book by Amy Lynn Green. The Foxhole Victory Tour. Okay, first off, this cover is one of my favorite covers. I can appreciate it. I love it. The green dress, yes. Christian historical fiction story, her newest release. And y'all know, again, that the Blackout Book Club was one of my favorite books in 2022. And this one did not disappoint. I knew I was going to enjoy it. I love her. Her writing style is always very, like, just engaging for me personally is the word, I guess. This book really captures the profound impact that music and humor can make in lifting the spirits of those that were at war. We follow many different characters in the United Service Organizations, or the USO unit, and this one primarily focuses on 2 women, Maggie and Catherine. You get to see these characters come together in an effort to play music and provide entertainment for the troops in North Africa during this time. They're going on this whole tour in North Africa during this time, and we get to see them at the forefront of war and all these different things going on there. I loved learning about the USO tours in this story because I'd never heard of them before. That was a real thing. Never heard of that before, so that was very interesting to learn about. Our main character of Maggie has a lot of spunk. She's not afraid to speak her mind, so I really appreciated her. She plays the trumpet, and the story kicked off with her getting in trouble with their original unit, and then she ends up, when she's leaving that unit, she gets offered a job with the USO, and Catherine is right there with her when the job is offered to Maggie, and she plays the violin, and so she is out trying to figure out her own life and all this stuff, so she ends up going with Maggie and getting offered a job as well. At first, Maggie's like, I don't know about this, but she comes in and is like, okay, let's have her come with us. And so she's trying to figure out her own life because there's this man that she's been writing love letters back and forth with. So we kind of see what happens with that. The struggles, because she is kind of torn between her divorced parents and what she wants to do in life. Her parents each have their own thing that they want her to do. Catherine's not going to do what anybody says. She's going to do what she wants. She joins the USO tours with Maggie, and the rest goes on from there. I love seeing Catherine and Maggie together because, like, they're total opposites, and so they become good friends, and that was really nice to see. We see other performers and their stories. There's this guy Gabriel, and he is a magician. He gets very close with Maggie in this story. We see Howie. He's a World War I veteran, and he is a dancer as well. Julia, she's a singer, and so we see some of their stories as well, but I really connected with these characters. I enjoyed their stories and the journey that they went on. There's a light faith element in this as well, so that was nice to see. Some parts in this were slower than others, so that's why it's like a 4-star, not necessarily a 5, but I still overall enjoyed this. The Blackout Book Club does remain my favorite by her, and I want to read her other books as well. Her backlist, I've got, I think, 1 or 2 others by her that I want to read. So yeah, I'm so glad I read this one. And if you are someone who loves a good war story, music, bands, all that stuff, tours, this one's gonna be for you. And the last book that I read this month was Cold Threat by Nancy Mayle. I continue to say how amazing Nancy Mayle writes good Christian suspense. There's just something about her stories. They always blow me away. They're so much fun. I give this one 4.5 stars. Nancy just always has this keep you on the edge of your seat feeling. There's good faith content in here. It's book 2 in the Ryland and St. Clair series, and the first book is Cold Pursuit. These books are perfect for winter time, and they just have that I have to know feeling with River and Tony, and they are back at it in their job of as private investigators. They do profiling, behavior analyst work, similar to the other series I was talking about. These are profilers in this story, and in this they're trying to profile a serial killer who is resurfacing after 20 years of being gone. And years ago there were several people murdered, and the only evidence left behind was the snowman ornament on the tree in the front lawn. He would like set their houses on fire after the murders. It was insane. And so all of a sudden something similar has happened, and I think the wrong suspect got put away many years ago, and they're after the actual killer at this point. Tony's father was investigating this case many years ago, and now since it's all resurfaced, he is brought back in, and he works for the FBI. So Tony's father, Tony, and River, they're all working together to close this case. My favorite part of this is seeing so much of Tony and River together. It's the great romantic emotions that are starting to form. Let's go. I would say that Nancy doesn't really have a ton of romance in her books, but she usually has something of feelings developing between the two. And so in this one, we got to see a lot more of that. And we get to see how we know that they're caring for each other. The girl's like, look, I got to get my stuff together before I even try to have a relationship. That was nice to see. I feel like this one is the most I've seen romance so far in the books I've read by her, as far as like the feelings being discussed, or the characters thinking about their feelings for each other and how much they care for each other, that kind of thing. And I don't know, I just loved seeing them work together. They were perfect together. You also got to see how she was getting to know Tony's family and his parents and all this stuff. And there was a thing going on with his sister, so you kind of see that going on, and there's like a journey she goes on here. But the faith journey that River specifically goes on in this series, I love that. She is really coming into her own here and just trusting the Lord in everything that she needs to do. The only reason this is not a 5-star, it's honorable mention really for like a favorite book of the year, but it's 4.5 because I would like to see a little bit more in the end whenever everything kind of went down with the killer, you know what I'm saying? So something about her endings, sometimes that happens. It's like we need another scene. I've said this before. And so this needed another scene, I think, versus like cut credits. You know, it's like, here's what happens. We're back to normal with everything else. You know, it's one of those things. So, but either way, I still really enjoyed this one. It was so good. And I cannot wait to read book 3 that comes out in July because I need to know. Okay. And that's everything for this month. It was a very lengthy wrap up. I talked a lot, I know, but want to let y'all know about these books. And for current reads, I'm almost done with Marmee. Just so you know, it'll be a 5-star. So yeah, if I wrote a review, I'll leave it down below. We'll talk about it in our end of month wrap up for February. And currently still reading our book club pick, Just the Nicest Person by Christy Barrett. It's probably going to be at least 4 to 5. I don't really know yet. It's in that 4-star range, I think. I think it's going to be 4. I do think it's going to be 4. I have enjoyed this. I'm going to be reading the next ones in the series. This one has been so much fun. I've been buddy reading it with my friend Teresa as well. We have been like, what? So I'm like 70% in on this. And so I didn't get to finish it to talk about it for the video for this month, but I'll talk about it in February for the February wrap up. It's been so much fun reading this. A new author. She reads like a Nancy Mail. Truly. There's a couple things with the girl that I don't love, so there's that, but I mean, it's been a good suspense. Yeah, there's a lot of books in this series. They're all on Kindle Unlimited, so what's that mean? Need to binge. Need to binge read them while I've got Kindle Unlimited. I don't know. So maybe I'll read another one in March or something. We'll see how that goes. But anyway, that's pretty much it for this video. I hope that you all enjoyed it. Thank you all for watching. Let's chat below in the comments. As always, what was your favorite book of January? And I'll see y'all in the next video. Bye, y'all.